And so then finally Pharaoh said, okay, you can fucking go, because God didn't make him say no. You know, God knows that Pharaoh probably wanted to say yes right from at least the turning of the Nile into blood. So the Egyptians go to the Red Sea, or the Sea of Reeds. There's a mistranslation. I read it as the Red Sea because it makes references to water and shit. Moses does the whole thing where he parts his arms and fucking goes to, across the Red Sea, across the dry land that he exposes. And here's another kicker. God makes it so that he hardens the hearts of the Egyptian army so that they pursue the Hebrews when they realize that that they're not actually going to the wilderness to worship. And if I was an Egyptian soldier, I would not, of my own volition, follow Moses and his Israelites through these two giant fucking wall pillars of water, because I'm fully aware that they could crash down at any moment, especially since God is making them do that. So we know that God's the one that made the Egyptian army go down and fucking follow Moses. And it even said right there in the text, in case you don't think that's true, read your fucking Bible. And yeah, he killed every last one of those motherfuckers. That was unjust too. I mean, the Egyptian army had nothing to do with Pharaoh's decision. If anything, it should have been only Pharaoh that God was punishing, and even then, not as harshly as he did. I mean, God fucking damn it. But then Moses and his Israelites went to the Sinai Peninsula, and they wandered there for 40 years. It's funny because even in those days, I've heard that the trip between Israel and Egypt only took about 10 days. And the Sinai Peninsula isn't even the entire... it's not even the entire distance between Egypt and Israel. It's this little tiny fucking sliver of land. And they wandered there for 40 years. How the fuck? How the fuckity fuck? Oh yeah, I forgot, there was something about a burning bush somewhere earlier in the book. That's how God first talked to Moses, but that's not really important. But anyway... so the Israelites became impatient with Moses, and then they stopped being impatient with him when they got to Mount Sinai, and they saw God in a pillar of flame or a cloud or whatever, something like that. And so Moses went up to Mount Sinai to talk to God, and basically it gets into a whole shitload of chapters where God is telling Moses to build a temple. He's telling him to build the Ark of the Covenant, and there's like 7 chapters dedicated to just that. That was a bore. I'm not sure why they had that there. But God was taking way too long to tell Moses about this, and his people, the Israelites, got worried. They thought that Moses had died or some shit, so they had Aaron make them a golden calf in order for them to worship. Never mind that God had not told them not to make graven images just yet. He told Moses not to, to tell them not to make graven images, but they made the graven image before Moses came down from the mountain and had time to tell them what God had told him. And yet, when Moses came down, he said, "Oh, you guys have sinned against the will of God, even though you don't know His will yet," which I was ironically just about to tell you. He destroys the calf, the golden calf that they made, with gold that they stole from the Egyptians, by the way. Well, it says they asked for them, but it also said that they plundered the Egyptian houses. So they stole the gold from the Egyptians to make their false idol, and God commanded them to steal the gold, which is a very funny thing. But, yeah, Moses destroys their little artwork kindergarten project that they worked so hard to impress him with, and here he goes destroying it. So that must have made them sad. And then he says, if there's a true believer among you, come to me. And a bunch of people came to him, and Moses ordered them to take up swords and destroy everybody else. Great! God, are you going to let this happen? Is this your will, God? You tell Moses not to make graven images, but you don't allow time for that message to get across to the people, so they don't know that it's wrong to make graven images, yet when they make one you have them all killed? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm sorry. I've been talking way too long. I know at this point that I'm gonna have to split this video up into multiple segments. But yeah. So, violent and bloody motherfucker God is. So then Moses goes up to the mountain again, and he gets some new tablets with all the 10 Commandments written on them, and there's some more about the last, 10 chapters of Exodus are about them actually building the Ark of the Covenant and the temple and all that shit. And I don't know why they had that in there, but they had to have it in there apparently. So that is my understanding of Genesis and Exodus. What conclusions can I draw from this? That the enemies of God are dicks, and that God himself is an even bigger dick. Now, I'm not going to say that that is an argument for the non-existence of God. I mean, really this whole video series, really this whole video, a couple of videos about Genesis and Exodus aren't meant to be as a sort of rebuttal of God's existence. That just happens to be the stance that I have, and that's usually what I talk about. And it's not meant to be as an argument against the existence of God, but at the same time, if you were to make up a God, why would you want it to be like that one? And a lot of Christians, I'm not going to say all Christians, but a lot of Christians believe in God because they want to know that there's someone who loves them and looks after them. Judging from just those two books, that doesn't seem to be the case at all. And, you can pull the New Testament out on me, so I'm going to have to read the New Testament. I've heard it's not much better, but, I'm going to read it when I get to it anyway. And, in any case, if you're Jewish for that same reason, why the fuck? Just tell me that. But yeah, Christians, Jews, your God's a dick. So, fuck him. Be an atheist instead, because, honestly, the reason I don't believe in God is not because it says in the Bible that he's a dick, but because it says in the Bible some shit about talking snakes and flying zombie Jews and shit that scientific evidence really has nothing supporting it. So, yeah. That's been my rant, I guess, on Exodus and Genesis, only, in the reverse order of that. I'm definitely splitting this video up into multiple videos, so watch them all. Of course, if you've gotten to this one, you probably have watched them already, so congratulations. If you liked what I've talked about in this video, you can totally rate it, subscribe, comment, maybe do a video response. And, I mean, even if you, just have the patience to have watched all the way from the beginning of when I started filming this to the end, then you might as well do all that stuff I just said. Subscribe, comment, you rate, and all that shit. You owe it to yourself to be subscribed to an awesome channel like mine. So, this has been the Insane Bastard. Peace the fuck out.